Hello, fifth grade artist. We're starting a new project today. We are going to be creating these radial design prints. We're going to be using some drawing. We're going to be using some printmaking, lots of fun things here. But the main thing that we're really going to be talking about is radial balance, and that's a form of symmetry. So you know about symmetry like a butterfly. A butterfly has symmetry where both sides are the same. So if these are the wings of the butterfly, we know if we fold them in half, they're the same. They're identical on each side. That's a form of linear symmetry. But the radial symmetry is a little bit different. In radial symmetry, think of like a flower. So you've got a center point and everything radiates around that center point. It's all the same as it goes around the center. So you can think of flowers with the petals being the radial symmetry on that. And something really neat that I found, another form of radial symmetry that we have in nature, is a video where a puffer fish is creating an amazing radial balance design. So teachers, before starting this lesson, go to YouTube, search for radial symmetry. Let's make a design. Notice how the puffer, and I want you to notice how the puffer fish creates this radial balance design. All you have to do is watch the first 4 minutes, 43 seconds of the video because it goes into something else. But just watch that part and you'll see it's really amazing. So we're going to be making these radial balance prints that are going to go on top of a beautifully colored piece of paper. We're going to be drawing some lines. We're going to be creating shapes and patterns on our print. And we're going to have contrast. Contrast is really important in art, and it's when things look different so they stand out. So you're going to have this beautiful colored background, and the black of the print is going to contrast with that colored background. We're going to use patterns, and we're going to use that balance, that symmetry. All right, so to begin with, you are going to, I did want to show you though, before we begin actually, I want to show you, this is another example of a radial balance design. So this is one that has been created by someone on a computer, but you see you have your center and everything that goes around that center radiates and it's the same. So that's an example of one that a person has made, and like we talked about, there's others in nature. Okay, so you're going to start with a piece of 12 by 12 watercolor paper. It's a little heavier than drawing paper, and you'll need to put your name on the back. And you're just going to use some tempera sticks, whatever colors you want. Just don't use black because, like I said, we're creating contrast, so you just need to use your bright colors. This one I used rainbow colors, and on this one I used more just pastel colors. So you're going to create a design using your tempera sticks. Now on this one, I start in the center with a color and I make circles that go around and around with my different colors. On this one, I created wavy lines. Let me do something a little different on this one because I want everybody's to be different. I think I'll do zigzag lines. So the way I would do that, I'll just start at the top and I'm going to use my tempera sticks to create zigzag lines. I want you to think of a pattern that you could use. So you've got my examples where I did the circles that are concentric. They go around and around and around. I did wavy lines. Now I'm doing zigzag or chevron. You could do stripes. Maybe think about some different designs you could do. I'm making this a little bit thicker. Okay, now I'm going to go with yellow. I'm going to come back and fill that other part in just a minute. And it's okay if the colors overlap a little bit. That makes a pretty green where it kind of overlaps. You can decide how thick or thin you want them. I think above that, I'm going to fill that in with the yellow. You want to try to get all of your white filled in. We're going to fill this whole page. And now I'll go with my pink to roll it out. If the ends of these get dirty, all you have to do is get a paper towel and wipe it off. because sometimes they're kind of like oil pastels and they'll get all mixed up. And I'm doing a pattern. I'm going to make this one, this pink one, a thick one. It's good. Other ways you can have contrast are by like the sizes of my zigzags. So maybe some are thin and some are thick. Always be thinking of ways you can use those elements of art and principles of design. Okay, so above that, I'm going to go back with yellow. I'm going to keep my pattern. I think all my yellow lines will be skinny. And now I'm going to go with my blue. So now I'm not going to finish this whole thing because I think you're getting the idea of what we're doing. But you're filling your page with a very basic design using your temper sticks. And I'm going to do it like that one where I make it thick. So I'm going to do another stripe. Create a pattern. And so you see under that blue, I did yellow, so I made a skinny yellow line. Okay, last one because you get the idea, but I would go all the way down with that. Okay, so now it's going to be time to make the plate for your print. And so we're going to be using foam. Artists use different things for printmaking. Sometimes they use pieces of wood, sometimes they use pieces of linoleum, and sometimes they use metal. But we're using this foam that's really easy to draw into. And we are going to be creating a design. This is one that I've already created. I'm going to do a new one down here and show you. You're going to need to use a colored pencil for this, something that'll show up. Because what is going to happen is, as we color this foam, the places where we color are going to sink in just a little bit from the pressure of our pencil. So you want to kind of color a little hard so they sink in. And when we roll the paint over it, it's only going to pick up on the raised white places. So then what is going to happen is when you get this covered in your paint, your black paint, only the raised places are going to pick up the paint and print. So when I turn it over, I'll print it. And then what happens, really, it's really cool. It's going to be like an opposite effect. So everything that is white will print black because that's your raised surface. It'll be a little clearer to see when you actually see it happen, but everything's going to be opposite. So I'm going to show you how to start your design, but I want everyone's to look different. I want you to think of patterns that you can use, shapes you can make, lines that you can make that you can repeat over and over again to create this design. I'm going to show you the basics of getting started, but then you're going to finish it out to make it look like yours, okay? So to begin with, you're going to have your piece like a square, not like a diamond, like a square. And we're going to start in the bottom right corner. Put your finger on the bottom right corner. Maybe teachers go around so everybody can see what we're doing. And you're just going to make a curved line that kind of goes like this over that corner. I want everybody to do that, and teachers check for understanding. Now, before we get too far into this, while we know that this is going to be our center corner, flip it over where you just drew that line. So it's going to flip and be over here now. You're going to make an arrow in that corner. Check for understanding, teachers. Walk around and make the students hold theirs up or put physical eyes on it so you know that they've done it how they're supposed to. Okay, back over. All right, I'm going to now start my design. I'm going to let you kind of start out with me, but then as you go, you're going to be changing it up and not doing exactly what I'm doing because I want yours to be however you want it to be. I'm going to make another line, and I think I'm going to color it in. You want to be coloring in lots of places on here. If you don't color in a lot of places, your print will not look as good. Okay, and I'll start by just putting a circle down there in that corner. All right, now as we go, you're just going to put different widths of these curvy lines that just go all the way up diagonally, and we're going to fill each of those spaces in with a pattern. So this time, I'm going to make one that's a little fatter, and I'm going to go from here to here just like that. I kind of go back over it and make sure it's indenting in. You can feel it. It'll indent in. And then I'm going to put a pattern. I think I'm going to do a zigzag. But you don't have to do what I'm doing, remember. Yours should be your own thing. Now I'm going to, instead of just leaving it like that, you need to color in some places. So I'm going to color in these triangles on that zigzag with my colored pencil, and I'm pressing down pretty hard because I'm making sure that it's pushing down that foam. You don't want to put a hole in your foam. You don't have to push down that hard, but you know, push down hard enough so it's indenting it. And then I'm going to make another border, I think, a small one. There's a small gap right here. And this time, maybe I'll put some stripes, but I'm going to kind of color those in and make them kind of thick stripes, so I've got a colored place in. In every one of these little sections you do, you need to be coloring in some places. You want to have lots of places with black, because those are going to be white later. All right, now I'm going to do another one. Maybe I'll make it just this far apart. You decide. Now it's time for you to start doing yours how you want to do yours, okay? So I'm not going to keep going much further because I want you to do yours however you want. But every time, you see where I did this, I'll make a line, and then I'll make another, and I'll fill in with a pattern. I did squares and another triangle, circles, wavy lines, spirals. Teachers, check and make sure the students are having plenty of places that they're coloring in. They will not look as good if they just have lines. They need to have shapes that they have colored in with their colored pencil. Okay, so when it's finished, it's going to look something like this. Now, you're going to start your print. So the best way I think to do this is to start with a test print. So you'll be pulling some kids over to a center while your other students are watching a video. You could do Art for Kids Hub, some kind of free drawing thing for them to do while you're pulling some students. All right, so we're going to take some black paint. Oh my goodness, it started coming out. Let me get a paper towel and clean that up. And sometimes we have messes in the art room, and that just happens. The thing about these prints, though, is that these plates that are made of foam, they wash off. You can even put them under water. So it just cleans up, and that's gonna have more paint on in a minute, so it's fine. All right, so my cap wasn't on good. I'm going to, let me scoot this over so you can see. I've got a piece of mat board I'm gonna use as my sheet for rolling my brayer up. So I'm gonna put at the top, I'm gonna put some black tempera. And then this is called a brayer. It's like a roller, and that's what we're going to roll on here. I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper to put underneath it because it's going to go off. It's not going to just stay on there. And you're going to let the students roll some paint on there and go in different directions and get your brayer good and covered with the paint. It shouldn't be goopy. It should be just a thin coat. See, it's not goopy, it's not dripping. Then you're going to come over here and you're just going to gently roll your plate. I'm going to get some more. And it's really just going to pick up on those places that are white. Get some more. Now it's tempera paint, it dries pretty quick. When you sit this down, sit it on the edge with that edge up, and it won't get paint on your table. Let's do a test print. Scoot this out of the way for a minute. I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm just going to go right in the middle because it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to do a test print. So I'm then rubbing with my hands all over it. It's important that you really rub. I like to use a circular motion. Really press it. And then there's my print. Okay, that made a really pretty design, and it's okay if it kind of goops up in places. It just adds to it, so it's fine. All right, so now it will be time to start on your colored piece. So we're going to pretend like I have colored this whole piece, okay? All right, this is where it's going to be important that you have your arrow, because the arrow, you're going to print the arrow side to the center every time. I'm going to show you in just a minute. Okay, so now we're just going to go right over this skin. We're going to have to put more paint on it again. I'm going to go ahead and get my arrow turned the right way. I'm going to start in this top left corner. So the arrow is going to always go to the center, okay? So let me show you. So this is the center. The arrow is always going to point to the center. My arrow is right here. So that'll be to the center, so I'll hold it like this. All right, I'm rolling my brayer up again. And I'm going to get that paint on there. It already had some from earlier, but we're adding another layer of it because we pulled a lot of that off of there. Make sure the students are going over the whole thing. Sit that flat side down. Make sure you've got, let me move this out of the way. It's kind of hard to do when I've got to move stuff around. This is the center. Here's my arrow. My arrow is going to go to the center. I'm going to line, I don't know what I'm thinking. My arrow is going to go to the center like this. I'm going to line my edges up, and that arrow is pointing to the center. And I'm going to do this. Okay, and then you're going to lift it up, and there's one. Now we're going to do this one. Okay, so let me move that out of the way. Every time before you print, you've got to put more paint on it. Make sure it's not too goopy. I see like a goopy place, so I'm going to roll this some more, maybe even come down some. You don't want to have it goopy or it will fill in places that it shouldn't be filling in. Roll it over again. Once they have made their 4 prints, then you can throw these away. But if you have a student who does that test print and that test print doesn't look very good, you can wash it off and let them go back and add some more to it. Okay, now let's turn it over. Let me move this out of the way. Let's see where our arrow is. So the center's here, the arrow's gonna go to the center. You wanna line your edges up as best as you can. Always have the arrow to the center, and this is why the teacher needs to be standing over them while they're doing this. And then there's that side. I'm gonna go ahead and print these. I don't have my background finished, but you'll just kind of get the idea. Okay, back to this. I'm putting more paint on my brayer. Rolling it again. Yes, they're gonna get paint on their fingers. It's tempera paint. If it gets on clothes, it washes out. It's no big deal. That's why we like to use black tempera or any tempera in the elementary classrooms. Okay. Move this out of the way. Okay, now my center is here, so I've got to turn this so that arrow is pointing to my center. And we're creating this beautiful radial balance design in here. You could have several students going at your center at once. Okay, and just imagine if that was colored in the back. And we'll just go ahead and do one more. Make sure after you do this lesson, teachers, every day, because it's probably going to take you multiple days to do your prints, that you are washing the brayers. You can let them soak, but they need to be, you don't need to let the paint dry on them. Flat side down. Move this. And my center is here, remember? So let me find my arrow. Okay. This will be a completed radial design when we lift this up. Look, and that almost looks like a sun in the center, doesn't it? And I didn't even plan for that. So you have some really fun little things that'll happen here. Okay, so I cannot wait to see how these look. I think they're going to be great. I want you to take your time. I want you to do a good job, and I'll put these on Artsonia and really work hard on this, and you may even get yours in the art show. Okay, guys, I will see you next time. Bye.